Hi, welcome to project number 2 in Art for Mental Wellbeing. This week we're going to create some rock art and we're looking at mandalas. So this is what we're going to be creating, and these are created using paint with tools found around the house. Mandala is a Sanskrit word for circle, and it refers to a sense of wholeness. In Buddhism, the idea of a mandala represents the universe, and creating a mandala is set to represent the transformation of the universe from one of suffering to one of enlightenment. So it's all very positive. Native Americans also use mandalas. In this case, they were associated with the restoration of the mind, the body and the heart. They were also incorporated in dream catchers like this. So the mandala is in the centre of the dream catcher. The dream catcher is supposed to protect people while they're sleeping and catch bad dreams or spirits. In yoga, mandalas signify a sacred space to shut out external influences, which is what we're going to try and create while we're making these mandalas. The symbols in traditional mandalas, such as this one here, represent all sorts of different things. We're not going to focus on these pictorial symbols. We're going to focus on colour, and we're going to do these, rather than on paper, we're going to do them on rocks. So the colour is important. I'd like you to think about what the colours represent for you, what do they mean, and choose colours that you find uplifting. So we're not going to focus on pictorial symbols as in traditional mandalas. We're going to focus on dots and lines, a little bit like Aborigines used. So here's a piece of Aboriginal art, and here's another piece, and as you can see, hopefully, they're made up of dots and circles. So this is an Aboriginal mandala here. So this is what we're going to focus on today. And as I said, the aim is to improve mental well-being, focus on a task and shut out any intrusive or negative thoughts. And hopefully you will create something that you're pleased with and gain a sense of achievement. So the tools that you need, I'm hoping that you might have some around the house already. So I've used a cocktail stick, a cotton bud. One end I've left the cotton on, the other end I've taken it off, and I just used, if you get rid of all that fluff, you might want to put a bit of paint or a bit of PVA glue on to completely stop the fluff. But then you get two different size tools. I found a bamboo stick that is used for kebabs on barbecues. That provided a nice little tool. And then the other tool that I used was this retractable pencil, and I used the rubber on the end, which made another different size tool. So hopefully you'll have some of those things around the house. You'll also need some acrylic paints. I've got a selection here. These are the colours that I used. You can get all different sorts of makes, and you can get these all on Amazon quite cheaply as well. And you can get much smaller tubes. They all come in different sizes, as you can see. So if you want to start off with, you can get some tubes are about that big. So just in case you think that you might not use them again. You'll need a water jar. Mine's just I think this was an old pickle jar left over from Christmas. Good idea to have some paper and a pencil, some PVA glue, which I've got here, or you can use ordinary varnish, wood varnish. It might be an idea to use an apron. I did get quite messy. and I did get it all over my clothes, so I do suggest an apron as well, and some sort of protective covering on your table. I want you to think about your, not only you creating your rock art, I want you to think about creating a calming space within which to do it. So you might want to think about putting some of your favourite music on, hopefully some calming music. You might want to think about, I put my diffuser on up there with some nice lavender oil in. Try and choose a room where you're not going to be interrupted and it's nice and peaceful. Choose a room that's quite bright, or use a lamp, because as you can see, it's quite detailed work and you really need to be able to see what you're doing. As I said, get yourself an apron because it's quite messy work, and you might need a drink of water because you're going to be there for a while. So to start off with, choose a couple of rocks and have a look at the size and the shape of them, and think about them being quite flat, think about them being quite smooth. So I'm just going to show you how to paint the rock. Start off with black. The idea of having two rocks going at the same time means that while you're working on one, the other one can be drying. So I'm just basically covering the rock with some black paint. As you can see, I'm getting it on the fingers already. And it's quite warm at the moment, so it dries quite quickly. But it does need to be completely dry before you start painting on it. So I'll show you that one. There you go. That's what it looks like when it's done. So nice flat surface, ready for you to start working on. You'll probably leave some fingerprints on it, so you can always go over it. So that's the first stage. What I will say is be careful not to splodge your paint on your next piece of artwork. So this is the next one. I'm going to show you how to do some, I'm going to use my little kebab stick, and I'm going to choose some blue ink and just show you how to start your rock art off. What I found was that adding some white paint made it show up better on the rock. So I'm going to mix that in. Probably would have been a good idea to change the water because I'm getting the black in the paint. So I'm mixing that in, and what I noticed yesterday when I was doing this, because it was quite hot, the paint was drying quite quickly, so I needed to add a little bit of water to it every so often. So one I would suggest is you have a little practice. I'll show you, I'll do some, there we go, you can probably just about see. So have a little practice with your tool before you start, and what you'll find is that you can create different there we go, different styles, different patterns with different tools, but you just, if you practice on a piece of paper, you'll get a feel for it. So I'm just going to do the first dot in the middle, there we go, of my rock. So that's your starting point, and then the next time I use a colour, I'm going to add a little bit, I'm going to add a darker blue to this, and then just to change the shade slightly so that I get this graduated feel. And then I'm going to do my first set of dots around the middle dot. What I would recommend, let me pull that back so you can see, is that when you dip it in and you hold your tool really upright, and then you get lots of paint on your tool. There we go. So that's the first set of dots, and then I'm going to clean my brush or my tool and choose a different colour, and I think probably I'll choose a more contrasty colour. So that's the beginning of it, and obviously you can keep going with your dots, and then I don't know if you can see, but what I've done after that is I've added more dots on top of the original dot, and you probably can see I've also added some dots, little tiny dots with the cocktail stick in between. So I'll perhaps demonstrate the cocktail stick one, and I will use a different, I'll perhaps use some yellow as a contrast, so that you can see what the cocktail stick looks like. Okay. So I'm going to didn't quite get enough paint on that one. The good thing about painting on this black is that if you go wrong, you can paint over it. So you don't rub it out, but you just get some black paint and paint over your mistake. Sometimes if you don't quite get enough paint on your tool, it doesn't quite come out evenly. So that's, I've added some little dots there, and I think probably when I carry on and do this, I will add some colours to the middle of those. Have a practice. This is a rock that I didn't paint. I think it looks a bit like a potato, and I don't think it's as effective as the black ones. See what you think. It's up to you. It's your rock. As you can see, I didn't let the paint dry on this one, and so it's much more splodgy, and I didn't choose the colours very well. So it's worth taking some time to choose your colours properly. I'm going to just quickly show you how to rectify a mistake, and then we'll finish. So if you can have a look at this one, there's a little tiny mistake there. So I'm just going to show you how to, so basically I've got some black paint and I'm just going over it a couple of times. There we go. And now the mistake's gone. Magic. Perfect. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed creating these mandala rock art pieces of artwork. This is a little bit more like an Aborigine piece of artwork. So this is not using colour, and that's just a smaller pebble. So next time we do our project, I'm going to be showing you how to do this one here, or similar to it, your own version of it. So you'll only need a white piece of paper and a black pen. I hope that you've enjoyed watching me create these beautiful rocks, and I hope that you enjoy creating them for yourself. Stay well and share your art with other people, and we'll speak to you next time when we do our mandalas in black and white. Thank you very much for watching, and take care.